Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. About a year ago, I made this video where I made a call on the housing market, which ended up being right, which is weird. I never am. And I explained the strategy that I was using to find my next deal, which I then used to get that next deal. Enjoy. Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I want to title this video, Winter is Here, and give an explanation on why this is the right time to be buying real estate. If this is your first time to my channel, my name is Dion, and I reached financial independence in a little less than 10 years, took about 8. I wasn't starting in a good position, and my goal is to try to teach you how to do the same thing. For the last 2 years, rates have been held very low, trying to stimulate the economy after the pandemic shut everything down. Well, we're not seeing that anymore. Rates are on the rise. Everybody's guessing and everybody's making decisions based on what they think is going to happen. And that's not what I do. So the reason I say winter is here is what I want to explain now. And I will explain this. I have 2 things I'm going to cover tonight. The first is why this is a great time to buy real estate. And that is because, and this is to satisfy the Game of Thrones fans that are watching, if there are any. Tonight's episode is brought to you by our normal sponsor, Alien Vodka, and Tell them out. Winter is here. It's not coming, it's here. I was looking at my portfolio. Almost every single one of my property purchases, except one duplex purchase last year. Last year, I purchased my duplex in May. All of my other purchases were done between November and February. And I hadn't actually thought of this before. I'm actually wondering why, if I look at all of my purchases, this is the time of year that I bought. And if you look at trends in real estate for the last decades, there's a spike in sales and purchases in the summer between school years when people who are going to own or occupy investment properties of 4 units or less are most likely to move because kids change school districts. So that's one of the reasons. Another might be if you live in Siberia, I think I spelled New Hampshire wrong, wherever Matt the lumberjack landlord lives, where it's literally the world will kill you if you're locked outside of your house for a few hours in the winter, might not be the best time to purchase and move tenants in. In the winter, I have less competition, less people looking at the same deals, people saying, I'm going to wait until the summer when the springtime hits and my kids are getting ready to change schools, or I can actually go outside and look at properties, I'm going to buy. So in the summer, there is more competition. And when there's more competition, I'm less likely to find a great deal. In the winter, it dawned on me between November and February, every single one of my deals except one was purchased in winter because competition went away. And for the last 2 years, we've seen inflation going up because of a couple of things. 1, free money just rained down like helicopter style on everybody. 2, record wage inflation. And every time I say that, somebody says, well, I only got a 3% raise or I got a pay cut. Right. It's not the people staying in their jobs that are seeing record wage inflation. It's the people who are changing companies. For over a year now, the average is above 4 million people left their jobs every single month for over 12 months in a row. We're calling it the Great Resignation. Unemployment is under 4% in most areas. 5-10 years ago, 6% unemployment was considered full workforce. So at 4%, we have low unemployment, but over 4 million people a month leaving their jobs, which means they're not leaving their jobs and going on unemployment, which would make unemployment go up. Yes, if somebody's on unemployment long enough, they can drop off and lower the unemployment numbers. But this is new people every month, over 4 million leaving their jobs, but really low unemployment, which means they're not quitting and going on unemployment. They're changing employers, which can often equal a 15% or higher pay increase. So if you're looking right now, since there was a shortage of employees, I mean, if you look at any business, everyone's hiring pretty much. Because during the pandemic, people were paid more to sit at home. Here in Washington State, the average income was $75,000 a year to sit at home on unemployment. Not everybody was making that when they were working, but you can make that sitting at home. So people had to be bribed back into the workplace. Our company did a 5%, 6 months later did a 5%, and then 1 year later, we just did a 20% pay increase across the board. And we are a small company with only 60 staff in order to retain and attract new staff. Record wage inflation is happening for companies and for people changing companies, which means inflation because people have more money to spend. We spend more money, inflation. So there's all these reasons why inflation is happening. Normally, Interest rates being low causes inflation because companies can borrow more money. While they were getting free money with PPP, EIDL loans, all the money that was just being stimulus rained down on the economy, plus stimulus checks, extra unemployment, extended unemployment, all of this money circulating. We've created a recognizable percentage of our currency that's in circulation right now in the last 2 years. That's not healthy for the economy. So right now we have the Fed saying we need to raise rates. So banks are raising rates. During quantitative easing, the Fed is also acquiring assets, which means it's safer for lenders to have a narrower margin. So banks could have less of a gap between what the Fed would loan money at and what the banks will loan money at. So now we have quantitative tightening, which means the Fed is going to be selling off its assets, which means more of those loan products are going to be owned by the banks, which means they're going to need to increase their margin to mitigate the risk. So not only can the Feds raise rates, but banks are probably going to raise rates too. So we're going to see 2 or 3 factors that are increasing the cost of capital to invest. The hope is that will slow down inflation. So now, like in the winter, competition has gone away because interest rates will make the payment too high for some people to qualify for programs. Even if you have first-time buyer programs, down payment assistance, just the ability to borrow the money is going to go away. And a lot of people are going to watch the crash videos and think, I'm going to wait for the crash or the correction to buy. So there's going to be less buyers. And so what we are in right now currently is a crash in transactions. So I'm calling this a housing crash. This is going to be one of those times, like almost every time I've added a property to my portfolio. In the winter, it's easier to find a great deal because you have less competition. And we have a couple of factors now that are going to actually make it even easier. For the last 2 years, properties in most markets would hit the market and be under contract in a couple of hours. Literally, a couple of hours. If you don't have your offer in, you're not even considered. Well, now we're starting to see days on market extend. We're starting to see what looks like an inventory pileup because they're not going off the market as fast. So what I recommend doing, watch days on market. And once you see that your days on market are significantly longer than what they were in your area for the last 2 years, ignore the list price. Think of the price that makes sense for you to get the yield that you're looking for. Make offers. For me in my area, that's when I'm seeing them on the market more than 5 days. Over 10 days, I will definitely make my offers that make sense at my numbers, but over 5 days, that's when they don't have offers. Sellers were expecting to get their wish list, several over asking offers with waived contingencies that would happen 2 months ago. That's not happening now. So they might be more likely to take that offer at a number that makes sense to you. But this is how we're going to have an easier time than ever finding a motivated seller. 2 years ago or last year or 3 months ago, when you made an offer on a property and it was under contract in 2 hours, whether you got the offer accepted or someone else did, no one knows if that was a motivated seller. They listed at the price that made sense to them. They either got it or got above it. In almost half the cases, Redfin put out an article saying 52% of purchases went above asking, which meant 48% went at or below asking. But that's a large percentage. If they accepted an offer right away, you don't know if they were motivated or if that was just the number that they would take. Well, now that we're seeing more days on market, you actually get the chance to see if they put it on the market and 10 days goes by or 20 or whatever is more than normal in your area, and you make an offer a little bit less than they're asking or significantly less than they're asking, and they don't counter with something really close to yours or accept yours, that's not a motivated seller. But the people who are tired or losing money, not running their business right, at an age where they're trying to have their exit strategy be offloading their portfolio or they inherited the property, when they're not getting their offer what they want and enough time has passed, days on market is the one metric that will make a motivated seller take a lower offer. So we just need to consistently be making those lower offers. And I have realized a mistake that I'm doing based on some questions that came in via email. A couple of emails came in and they said, I watched the Three Amigos, which is me, Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time, and Matt the Lumberjack Landlord. Once a week on Thursdays, we record videos together and we talk about our 3 different investing strategies with our different goals, our different markets, what we're doing, what's effective, what we've wasted time with, and we share what we've learned. Some emails came in, and I say some because it's 2. And so if I see 10 emails come in on a question, I will have made a video on that already. But these 2 questions came in and they were worded in such a way that made me think, I've made a mistake. I think when I make a video, I'm very clear in for the last 2 years, here is what I did. Currently, this is what I'm doing. So if you want to duplicate and reach financial freedom the way that I did in 10 years or less for the average person, even if you're not starting from the best position, here's what you do. But my mistake has been I'm irritated by some crash video channels who constantly, since 2013, have been saying, here's the reason for the Michael Zuber has a great channel on his great video on his channel the other day of 10 years of market crashes, where he talked about the crash that happened that was expected in every single year since 2013. So since 2013, people have said prices are above 2008, interest rates in 18 spiked. There's every reason you can think of why there's a crash coming, because that gets views. If a person says there's a crash coming and here's why you want to take action, I would be okay with it. But every time that there's a video that says there's a crash coming or a correction coming and you need to sit back and wait and don't take action, it bothers me, because think of this. In 2020, a pandemic hit and a bunch of people were saying that's a massive housing crash coming. It's the end of the world. Don't ever buy a property. And for 2 years now, we've seen 30% appreciation, record skyrocketing rents. Missing out on those 2 years because of a scare tactic video that got views, to me, that person should be able to sue somebody who cost them that much money. I'm very specific when I say for the last 2 years, here are the things that made me think we don't have a housing crash coming. We haven't been building for 10 years. We have the demand. We don't have ninja loans. We don't have adjustable rate mortgages. We don't have record numbers of people with a 630 or lower credit score buying homes. We didn't have any of those elements that happened between 2005 and 2008. So I was saying, and several other YouTube content creators were saying, here's why there's not a housing crash coming. But the ones who said, well, all those reasons why there's a housing crash coming and to wait and delay, were getting the views. And then I take the time to explain, okay, so I don't see a housing price crash coming, but I do see a crash in transactions coming because interest rates going up with high prices, limiting buyer demand. But we still don't have a massive reason why a bunch of foreclosures are coming. Even the people who went on forbearance, less than 1% of them look like they're going to end up in any kind of thing close to a foreclosure. We don't have ninja loans. We don't have adjustable rate mortgages coming to a close where they're going to have their rates adjust. I mean, we had over 50% in 2005, 6, and 7. And one of those years, we had over half the mortgages were adjustable rate mortgages. We had 3% last year, and I think it's doubled now or close to tripled. So they are going up, but they're nowhere near 50%. So I don't see a crash in prices happening, but I do see a crash in transactions. Less deals happening, which means the wish price projection of prices just keep going up and up and up so people can get them off, and then over asking above that and waiving contingencies is going to go away. So I think we're going to see a leveling off of prices and maybe even dropping back to closer to where they were last year. That doesn't mean crash. And what I'm saying is, for 2 years, here's all the reasons why you should have took action. For the next 2 years, here's all the reasons why you should take action. So if you've seen, it's taken me probably 3 or 4 minutes to explain why I see this crash as different than the last and the reasons for all this. That's my mistake. Because the question that came in those emails was, I'm a new investor and I want to know what I should do now, or what you're doing now. And you haven't been really clear on that. That was the wording of those emails. So I appreciate you reaching out with those. Here's what I'm doing as an investor. Now, currently, in this housing crash of transactions that's happening now, hunting for great deals, watching days on market, knowing my area average rents, and talking to my lender at least weekly, if not maybe more often, depending on your relationship with them, to find out what rates are. Because the 3 things that determine yield in your area are price, rates, rents. I hope you enjoyed this clip from one of my long live streams. I do my live streams every Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific, and they last as long as the questions do. You can find the entire video here. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.